Welcome. I'm Alice Alicia Jones, and this is another one of my Living Consciously videos. I have had such a gentle week that I'm not surprised that my guides wanted this particular subject brought forward. These are I'm going to recount today some of the strangest things that have happened to me. Um, I think about a year ago, one of the Reiki students just asked me point blank, "What's the strangest thing that ever happened to you?" And all I saw was ping, 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 ping. So I couldn't really think of one thing that stood out more than anything else. However, there is one thing that probably has astonished me more than anything else, and that is when I walked into my bathroom at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I have witness to the fact that a live candle, a candle that has just been lit, greets me in the bathroom. And I walked up to it and I looked, and it was obvious that from the amount of melted wax there was, that the candle had just been lit, but there were no matches in sight and no one that would have gotten up. My husband, I had been awakened for a few minutes before got up, and my husband was sound asleep, so there was no possibility of him having gone in. But that lit candle, to this day, I still have the same candle in my bathroom. It's just one of a series of five that I keep around my bathtub. I have one of those surrounds, and I still am astonished when I look at it. Couple things that happened, these probably in the 90s, that were a little bit similar, but just very uh, still astonishing to me. One of them, I was waiting for a friend, and as I was sitting there, just very idly dozing, kind of in a semi conscious state, but just waiting. Nothing very special. Nothing exciting. No, nothing exciting that I was thinking about. But I had I looked at the tablecloth, and it happened to be an oilcloth, and which was a very common table covering at for a number of years because they're virtually indestructible. And this tablecloth had a field of blue, and on it were like small little daisies, and then a small little, even smaller little geometric shape. And it's just completely geometric. And as I'm sitting there watching, what happens is the field of blue starts to look like plasma. It has movement, it has flow, and it's alive. And I'm watching as the flowers, the little daisies, I'm sorry, white and yellow daisies, were kind of floating in it. But the other astonishing thing was, and the little red geometric forms um, were also kind of floating in this blue plasma that, in my dimension, was just solid, just very solid. But the plasma and the daisies were double the size of what I saw in my with in the third dimension. So I presumed that I had tapped into the dimension from which everything we see steps down and becomes the form that we see. This is a dimension that I feel is probably the fifth dimension, and it steps down um, into the third dimension. Fourth dimension is time. So we already have that. We're already going through that. In fact, everybody's complaining about how fast time is flying. It today is what, the last day of May, and it seems like we just had Christmas and New Year's, and we're marching towards Fourth of July, and so every single thing that I'm looking at, I blink, I'm in my dimension. I blink again, I'm in this higher dimension. I blink, I'm back in my dimension. I blink again, I'm in this higher dimension. And I continued to do that till I thought, I I've tapped into something. I'm not exactly sure what, but it was just intriguing to me. And prior to that, I had also had an experience with my computer where the computer was, I was focusing so intently on the computer that I felt as if I and the computer were one. There was like no distinction between what I was doing and what the computer was doing, and or what the computer was for me. And the same identical thing happened. All of a sudden, the keys almost like doubled in size and went from the small keys that I'm used to a very large key that again seemed to float in a plasma of liquid of some sort rather than what it was. And the same thing. I blink, I'm back in the third dimension. I blink, I'm in the higher dimension. I continued to do this and was a just given the gift of seeing into another dimension. The same thing happened again with the computer on a time when I was concentrating and focusing on the form that I was filling out. I was concentrating on that form so intently that all of a sudden the whole monitor, the inside of the monitor, blazed up blue. And it's that same majestic, deep, like a cross between a Caribbean and a cobalt blue that appears on the bottom of a flame. And the it just like a light came around it. And Buddhists will typically tell you in the Buddhist tradition that everything has a glow, a very thin glow of light around it. Interestingly enough, I did talks on the threefold flame a couple weeks ago, and that's the way I see the threefold flame, and that lives inside your heart, is in a shade of blue rather than in a shade of gold. Um, One additional thing with energy that was so neat for me is that a friend invited me to go to the Marinsky Ballet. At that time, it was a separate ballet company from the Bolshoi. They have since combined the two companies. And I think once COVID hit, they combined the two companies. But at the time I went, maybe in the neighborhood of about 10 years ago, it was a separate company, and A friend had, I guess, an extra ticket. I don't know if her husband didn't want to go. I'm not exactly sure how I got invited, but as we're sitting there, we get to halftime, and she turns to me when the curtain fell, and she goes, "Isn't their energy fabulous?" And I looked at her and I said, "What energy?" And she goes, "The energy coming off their body." And I thought, I didn't see anything. So again, when the performance started again, I thought, if she can see it, I can see it. Because I figured that's nothing that anybody else can do that you can't do with intent and practice. So as the performance started, for the second half, I soft focused my eyes. I gazed at the tip of my nose, kind of a little bit cross eyed, and I looked at the performance in that manner. And sure enough, licks, it just like a crescent moon almost of blue. And they were about, I'm going to say, about 12 inches long, about the length of an arm. The top of the arm, the bottom of the arm, the licks of color, mainly blue, green, red, purple, licks of color that looked like the crescent moon showed up. And the same thing that I had done with the tablecloth, I would blink, I was back in 3D, I saw the performance. I would blink and I saw the energy. And so I would be paying attention to the energy. And then again, blink, I would see the performance. I'd be just watching the performance, watching what they were doing. But in this case, it was so magical that I thought, geez, if I continue watching the energy, I'm going to miss the performance. And it happened to be a story, which is my favorite way of witnessing ballet. So I stopped after about 20 minutes. But again, a magical experience with the Marinsky Ballet. Um, the thing that let's see, one of the other things that I wanted to share with you. Um, I had another experience with a living flame, and this is the World Peace Flame. I have done again a video on the World Peace Flame, so that's out there. But in this case, the World Peace Flame, as I watched the little flame, and it just was a sweet, sweet, sweet um, flame. It was very rotund, very fat, very gentle, and it moved into a position where it kind of like faced me, and it became the exact shape of the fairy godmother in Cinderella in the Disney version. And as I looked at it, I watched as it picked up its skirt and curtsied to me. And I thought, oh my gosh, is that clever? So I won't go into the story of the World Peace Flame, but if you want more information on the World Peace Flame, just look it up on my videos. Um, so that too was such a special uh, sensation that was given me. Um, Things appear and disappear. One of the things that appeared for me, or I should say disappeared, was lipstick. As I was putting my lipstick on, I dropped the tube, watched it fall into the side of the side between my where I was sitting in the car and where the seat. And so I watched it fall to the floor. But in the process of falling, it disappeared. So I was with my sister at the time, and we were in her car. And I told her she was driving. So I told her what had happened. And she goes, Alice, that's impossible. So as soon as we stopped, got to our destination and stopped, she went and she looked for that lipstick. Didn't trust me to look. She looked, wasn't there. However, 6 months later, she calls me up and she says, I have your lipstick. It rolled out. And this isn't the first time something just rolled out, because there was another time where I had met a friend for lunch. And as I got into the finished driving to my destination, I took my glasses off, just threw them on the front seat of the car. When I got back, they weren't there. They just absolutely weren't there. So this time, I kind of already suspected that they were gone for good. It took 2 years before I got those glasses back. They were they rolled back into, out I dropped them into the front seat and the passenger side. They rolled back from under my seat in the driver's side in the back. So that was kind of neat. Um, I had 2 sweat outfits one Christmas that were given to me as a present. Loved them. They were the matching velour pants and sweatshirt and just really comfortable. And I can remember hanging them both up, and shortly after, I got um, uh, went to the closet. Sweatpants, the pink blue set is there, the pink set is gone. And by now, I had kind of gotten used to things appearing and disappearing. So I started to be very forceful about it and said, that's mine. Those are mine. Please return them. And so I, again, got them back about 4 days later, but they were crumbled up on the floor. And it was just so neat. All I'm thinking of is, how can any fairy fit into this size of sweatpant? And I realized it wasn't meant for a fairy. It was obviously meant for something else. Um, the next one I wanted to share, and I brought it with me. This piece of labradorite. Uh, it is a labradorite is a stone that's known to be an entrance to the fairy kingdom. And labradorite is just it's a magical stone. You look at it and you are just drawn inside to all the colors, and then you can see stories forming as you look at um, at the stone. So this piece sat on my end table for, I don't know, maybe 10 years. And then all of a sudden, one day, uh, during my morning prayers, I look over and I realize, oh, my labradorite is missing. And again, this time I knew no one had been in the house. Not, and my children had, one had graduated from college, one was in college. Um, there is absolutely no way that that anybody could have taken it. Uh, Cleaning lady didn't come during that period, so I just kind of shrugged my shoulders. And the at that time I was working for a gentleman in Front Royal at Mountain Mystic, and the owner's name was Jerry. And so the next time I went to the store, I asked him, I said, Jerry, do crystals sometimes disappear? Can they choose to disappear? And he said, oh, absolutely. They come, they go, they stay, they leave, you know. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So because his store was filled with other crystals, I found a bigger one, and I forgot to bring it with me. So before I bought it, I looked at it and I said to it, I said, if you're going to disappear on me, I'm not going to buy you. So you're going to have to promise that you're going to stay with me. And I heard inside my head, I'll stay. And so anyway, this piece chose to return, I'm going to say about 4 years ago, maybe five. And how I found it in my closet in my master bedroom is an organizer for small items. And so I have multiple shelves going all the way up to the ceiling. And at eye level, I see the edge of this right here. And I'm looking at it, and then of course I pull it out and I realize same stone. So it took about 10 years for this to come back to me, but it did. It chose to come back. And I have had any number of people that have said they've lost jewelry and that they have had that they've lost crystals. But in this case, I kind of just shrugged my shoulders and I said, well, I guess if you've taken it, you took it for a reason. And whatever that reason was, they decided that it wasn't going to be with them permanently. So I did get it back. However, another crystal that I absolutely loved, this one I had found. I dug it up in my own garden. I Every year I would spade another foot around the central island, which I felt was too small to make it just a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. And so, during one of the times I was spading, I found a beautiful peach quartz heart, and I mean, it was magnificent. I had never seen anything like it. It was about 6 inches and just a very lovely peach quartz. And again, it sat on my in my office on the windowsill for I'm going to say at least 10 years, maybe more. And then all of a sudden, we rearranged my office. We brought an etagere into one of the windows to put my collection of orchids on. And as I realized I was putting the orchids up into the etagere, I realized, oh my gosh, my peach quartz is gone. And that has never returned. And that's got to be in the neighborhood of maybe 5 years ago, maybe seven. So something like that has never come back. But I just am hopeful that it will. Uh, Glasses, reading glasses. Over the years, I've bought 15 pair. I probably have 4 or 5 left. So I am not, uh, think about four. And so that's 11 pair of reading glasses that the fairies have taken from me. And all I can think of is, I guess there's a lot of nearsighted fairies. Uh, so that just kind of cracked me up. But I think that's it. Those are the items I wanted to share with you today. And next week, I'll talk about something else, the music of the spheres. That's something, a different subject, but kind of on this order, because again, you're tapping into another dimension. So, in the event you need a meditation booklet, Own Your Power Day by Day is the best on the market. And I do appreciate you contacting me through my website for any additional services that you might require. Alicia, ALICJA, Jones.com. I have had, I've met people from around the world uh, because of these videos, and I'm very, very happy to be able to do them. I thank you for being here. I wish you a pleasant week, and we're on the cusp of June. So tomorrow you get a new month, June, the month of brides. If you're interested in signing up for my newsletter, again, do it through my website and my Angel Blessings, which gives you all my services. So, everybody have a great rest of the day and a great month. And I will see you next week, Friday. Thank you.